It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Tuesday, November 14th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Provi In The Media, the practical word study, and of course, commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. Whew. All right, everyone, how are you doing and how was your Monday? Yes, it's already Tuesday morning. Hope you guys have really enjoyed your week thus far. For me, it is Monday night. I'm here in Seoul. I just arrived here this morning, had just a great time meeting members, going around eating, and just being in Seoul. It's very different from Busan. And I would have to say that just from what I've seen so far, I think Busan is definitely a prettier city. I think it's a more beautiful city, I think, so far, right? Seoul is definitely way more metropolitan, and it's got a lot more things going on here. So yeah, there's a pros and cons of each, and I think that's why that poll came up this week, right? That poll of where what kind of I was talking about that last week. Last week's poll was about where would you want to live? And when you look at the poll from last week of where you want to live, it was like 35% of people, which is the biggest group, is 35% of people would rather live in a small town or a small city. Where then right after that at 25% is big city. And then 90% of the suburbs. I chose suburbs too. I after living with my parents in the suburbs, it's so comfortable there. It's like you got everything you need, not a lot of people. It's more quiet and stuff. 17% want to go to the countryside, and 4%, I think they want to live on the moon or something like that, right? They want to live somewhere like far, maybe just not what is normal. But it's I find it very interesting because whenever I came to Korea, I was always in Seoul. Like that was my main base. It was either me for at the Lord's Church, I'd be in the International House, or I'd be living with some of my older brothers that took really good care of me and stuff too. But it's I don't know how to say it. I'm back in Seoul right now, but it's very different than before. Feeling mood, because we know what's gone on, and I haven't met everyone yet. It's very different, right? So it's interesting. I think I'll be able to unpack more as the week goes on. Especially, I'll be here I'll be in Seoul for the rest of the week too. Also, guys, don't forget Thursday, Q&A Thursday. It's coming up, so get those questions ready. Send them to me whenever you can. And for this podcast right now, if you haven't yet, leave a like and comment to build our community. Just super happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. Let's get up, support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title, the first one is Research God, and the second one is One Can't Stand to See Something That Is Not Beautiful Because It Is Unpleasant to Look At. All right, so yeah, in Seoul right now, enjoying my time with members that I haven't seen in a very long time. And those of you guys saw my my Instagram, you saw that I was with like the guy that usually has like red hair, and he does the cheer and stuff like that too. Like he's a guy you'll see, he's always in front of the crowds and stuff too. I was with him, and he actually started a new business, like a vintage clothing company. It was really cool. Like the way he set up everything was awesome. And he did, to save money, he did everything. He researched everything by himself, even the decorations. It's awesome in there. So I'm hoping that his business goes really well. If you guys ever visit Korea, you guys should, I'll take you guys there. It's really cool there. And you get a lot of these vintage clothes and stuff like that too, right? And, of course, meeting everyone, all the people that are still alive right now. We are, because this is my first time in Seoul, meeting people from Seoul, once again, celebrating the fact that we are all still alive. Yeah, I am super happy about this. And of course, I'm going to meet like some more members tomorrow. And of course, the one that everyone always asks me about him because I used to live with him too, the praise singer Chungo and stuff. So I'll be meeting him tomorrow. And yeah. Everyone knows him as a main singer from the Holy Spirit movement and stuff. So, he's doing well and such. So I'm just going to have dinner with him and have a good talk with him tomorrow too. So yeah, people just slowly moving around, meeting people step by step. Now, once again, for full transparency, I am meeting some old friends. Some that used to be in Providence, and some that left a while. No one who's left recently, just like a while back, right? So they're not people that are like persecuting stuff like that too. But these are friends that in the past when I was in the Lord's Church, we ran together. And, they're genuinely curious of how I'm doing, making sure that I'm okay. So, it's a very, very, it's very thoughtful. It's nothing about Providence or anything else. It's just, hey, how are you doing? And I would have to say this is something that's I think is very encouraging, because they're not persecuting, they're not coming against, but they're just genuinely, thinking about how am I doing, my health. And I would say it's the same thing that happened with my cousin. Right, my cousin used to be in Providence, married another person in Providence too, and so she's like my cousin now. And when I have these ex-members, they'll call me up ever since like March and April, and I'm very thankful, because they don't call me to ask me what do I think, whose side am I on. The biggest thing that they ask me to do, or they talk to me about, is how am I doing? Are you okay? Is everything going fine on your end? And I'm very, very thankful for that. So it was very interesting when I meet some people that are no longer in Providence, but they are, they have quietly left and such. I found it quite interesting, because when, obviously the conversation comes around to what happened this year, and then they tell me the things that they've heard. And it's interesting, guys. I'm going to tell you right now is it's all the same things that we talked about at the very beginning. Right? And the one thing that this person did tell me is like, one thing you have to understand about Koreans is Koreans are more, they're more passionate and they're more emotional. So their reactions are much, much quicker, because they do things emotionally, right? So like, the same things that we heard in the past that we kind of talked about too is, one person would say something like one person would say to me, but all these people, there's so many people accusing, they're saying something about, somewhat the same thing, right? And, they would say it, and I would let them say everything they need to say, or, why would these people lie, or why would these people put themselves in danger to do this, or not danger, but, why would they expose themselves like this and stuff too, right? And, I would just say the exact same thing, just very calmly, like, hey, for me, I'm very, like I say, I try to be reasonable and rational, and I want to be someone who doesn't do things emotionally. And for me, the number of people who accuse doesn't make a difference. Because just because you have a bunch of people who accuse, it doesn't make someone guilty just because there's a lot of people, right? Because if that's the case, let's just say there's a number. Let's just say there's 10 people. If 10 people say that you're guilty or that you did something, what if you just pay 10 people to say it? Does that mean this person's automatically guilty? No, right? And I told them, like, it's not about the number. Because if someone is guilty, if only one person says they're guilty, that doesn't mean that they're not, because there's not 10 people. If you're guilty, you're guilty. It doesn't matter how many people are saying you're innocent. And on the flip side, if you're innocent, you're innocent. It doesn't matter how many people point at you and say you're guilty, right? The number isn't the thing that matters. It's not like you can go to court and say, what is my proof that this person is guilty? Because 100 people say he is, right? If that's the case, we wouldn't even need a trial, right? There's no need for a trial. There's no need to find evidence, right? So when I look at this, I'm like, yeah, I told them, this is what I feel. And of course, this person is, they're not persecuting or doing anything else. So they're like, they fully respect, like, oh, that makes sense too. And then when they say, oh, why would this person lie? I'd be like, there's plenty of reasons to lie. There is. There are so many reasons to lie, more reasons to lie than there is to tell the truth. There is, right? And that person's like, they agree, right? So it's almost like if they can say to me, like what they said to me also was like, I don't know the truth. So they admit to me that they don't know the full truth. But then they said like, I don't know the truth, but there is a chance that it's true. And I'm like, of course, right? From your perspective, from someone coming from the outside, there's a chance. It makes sense to me. And that's why I respect what you think. But I can use your same reasoning to say that it didn't happen. Right? So she's like, how? Then I was like, well, think about this. If has someone ever lied about someone doing, doing this type of crime? And then this person was like, of course there is. So then I said, so there's a chance that he didn't do it. And then they're like, oh, that's true, right? So it's something that we have to kind of, we have to always be ready for these things and have to be in good conversational standing. Now, what does that mean? I think like even when I talk to these people, one thing I totally agree with is we have to be those that let people speak to the end, let them say everything they want to say, and then we say everything we need to say, and it's okay in the end to agree to disagree, right? As long as it's normal conversation, no one's trying to convince each other. And I think that's one of the wrong things to do is, hey, let's try to convince this person. And the answer is we don't need to convince people, right? Our job is not to convince them. That's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to speak the truth, right? If they say something, we say something too. Right? And we're not going to do that with anger. We're not going to do it with like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this or I can't believe that, right? So that is something that I've been having a very, very good time talking to members and stuff and non-members too, like people who used to be here also. I had this very interesting thing though. As I was talking to the cheer guy, and we were just having a great conversation. And he said something very interesting. I thought that was something that was very, very important because it really moved me was he said that, he's been running full-time Providence his whole life, right? His whole life he's been running full-time Providence. And I was asking him, like, what made you get into this, like to start a business of a vintage clothing company kind of thing, right? And, it's a high risk. You're investing like tons of money into this. What would really make you want to do this? And one of the answers he gave, there's different answers like his prayers and stuff like that too. But one of the answers he gave was very interesting. The answer he gave was, he said, he's been running for so long and he's reached a certain age, right? Mid-30s, getting mid to late 30s. And he said, I could just run and do the same thing I've always done. I could go into pastoring or this, and this. But one thing he said was, one thing, like there's two reasons why I want to do really well in this business. Number one, I want to do really well so that, just to show those that have left this history and like said all these bad things, like, we're successful, right? We're not just spiritually more successful than you, but you know what? I'm going to show you guys that, that we're doing well. Right? All the complaints you had that we're not successful, we don't make money or whatever it is, I'm going to show you that. And the second thing he said is, it's also for the sake of those younger members that are beneath us, right? That are still coming up, that are running hard in the history just like we did in the past. And he wanted to really give the younger generation hope. Like he wanted to give the younger generation hope that, hey, after everything's said and done, you got to know how much God's going to bless you, right? That put in your responsibility, and God will bless you. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, that makes sense, right? Because that's one of the reasons why a lot of people may not feel like, oh, maybe this is not the path for me because there's so much suffering. Maybe that's the path for me because look at how all these full-time people end up. Do you know what I mean? Like I found I was like, oh, that's so true because this influences the younger generations. And they're influenced in a way that when they see what happens to these generations of leaders and that they don't, imagine in the end they're not doing well, they become sick and then no one's there to take care of them. That's really sad, right? That these people may not want to do this, right? And I thought that was a very, very great point that he made. I was like, yeah, we are not here to brag or show off, but we want to be those that become an example for future generations, saying that, hey, you guys can't, even though you ran this and then now your time of, retirement from full-time Providence is done, God's going to bless you. And if you work hard and do your responsibility, just like you learned that mentality when you were running this history, you guys can make a good living. You guys can be someone who could take care of your younger brothers, right? Like the worst thing is having, imagine you being 50 years old and you have the younger people taking care of you instead. That's kind of sad, right? But we have to be those that kind of reach that next generation. We really, really do. So I sat there and I thought that it was a very, very important thing for all of us to really understand. That, there's a lot of things that we need to do for ourselves, but a lot of things we need to do for this history, for the next generations, knowing that this history is going to run. And when we run and do this history, we are going to be blessed, right? Blessed in all ways, right? All ways meaning from the being blessed by, what do you call it? Being blessed for like physically, financially, mentally, spiritually, in all those areas, right? And I think that it's, I thought that was a very, very inspiring vision to have on why you should do this. And, and the crazier part is he answered one of my prayers. Like, what was the prayer that I had? Well, I'm going to tell you guys this one thing is, it is, it's pretty cold. It's getting cold in Korea now. Like I told you before, it was getting really, like it was hot, 21, 22 degrees in Wolmyeongdong. I went to Busan, it was like 21, 22 degrees. But when I got back, it started getting really cold. And, I'm used to just being in like summer countries. I don't have a jacket. I don't have any padding. And I even had a friend of mine like texting me like, hey, you might need to buy a jacket. It's getting cold. Like even right now, it's 1 degree, right? For those of you guys in America, that's about 34. Less than 30, like 33.6 degrees, right? It's 33.6 degrees, which means it's cold right now, right? It was minus for the first time, I believe, yesterday in the Wolmyeongdong area. So it was like, it's cold. It's really cold and stuff. And even though I'm only going to be here for another 8 days, I'm like, whoa, like, am I going to freeze during this time? My warmest thing I have is a hoodie and a vest, and that's it. And I'm like, gosh, am I going to be able to make it here, right? And one thing that this friend said to me was, well, if you can, maybe you can ask someone and borrow a jacket. And I'm like, maybe I just need to buy a jacket and then when I leave, return it or something along that line. But I came to Seoul and, I arrived at the train station. A good friend picked me up and then we went straight to visit another friend too. And he has a vintage store. So remember, all the clothes are used. And he looked at me and he said, aren't you cold? And he gave me 2 jackets to wear. And since it's the vintage shop, after I'm done with it, I just give it back to him and he sells it because it's vintage. You know what I mean? So it's not like I feel bad, like, oh my gosh, it's being used and stuff because vintage is all used secondhand clothing. So he's like, yeah, go ahead, wear it and then bring it back. I was like, oh, wow. So for the next, until I leave on the 21st, I'm going to be, I have this huge parka, like really warm one, like goes all the way down to my knees, which is awesome. And then on top of that, I have like a varsity jacket too, a little bit more stylish and stuff like that also. But God really answered my prayers, like super answered my prayers. So now I have 2 jackets to wear during this time and I am thankful, like super, super grateful, thankful for this. So I was just thinking to myself like, God, like I'm not even asking, like, it's something that I'm thinking. It's something like, oh, what can I do, God? Or maybe I'll be okay without wearing it. And God's just like answering my prayers. So very grateful, very thankful. And I'm hoping that more, I'll be able to do a lot more. Well, I don't know. I just feel very, very grateful and thankful to God that He answered my prayer. So that's kind of like my small testimony I want to give to you guys is I wasn't even praying. I was thinking. And Sunseem usually says thinking is prayer too, right? Like just speaking out loud, that is prayer also. And I was able to get my prayer answered in such a quick, fast, and amazing way, right? So that is something that I am grateful and super thankful for. Yeah, so, a lot more things that I am looking forward to during this trip, and I'm hoping to meet a lot of good friends, good people, and I hope that in the future also I'll be able to give even more testimonies of what God is doing with me during this entire time here too. Okay? So yeah, it's at the moment it's 11 p.m. over here Monday night. Yeah, I'm doing these quite late now. I think tomorrow I'm going to do it a little bit earlier. I think it's better for me to do it a little bit earlier because I will be meeting people more in the nighttime. So that is something that I am thinking about, and I need to do this. I need to do this more quickly. But yeah, it's 11 p.m. So I'm getting very, very close to Tuesday. So it's getting closer to when this podcast actually comes out. But I am kind of thankful for this because all my information and the thing that I get, like my contents, is coming from my conversations with these members here, conversation in these times I'm having together like this. So, yeah, I am grateful. I am thankful, and I'm hoping to, hoping to have some more stories together with the Lord here. Yeah, I remember, like, I leave on the 21st of this month. So today is the 14th. 14th, which means what? 14th, I have 70. I have exactly 1 week. In 1 week, I will be leaving I'll be leaving to Taiwan. And very, very much looking forward to that trip too. But the first things first is I have this volleyball tournament. And my friend was telling me, hey, don't be too physical, because it's a Providence volleyball tournament. So like, don't be too physical, don't be too competitive, right? Or we're going to give you a red card. And I'm like, that's so true. Okay. I got to become more spiritual and think about, I don't know what I have to think about. Isn't the whole point of competition to win? There you go. I'm going physical again. Either way. All right. Before we get into the next section of the practical word study, let's move into the first break of the day.
I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. We stay looking for someone to hold when the right one's standing at your door. Open up your heart and say, I believe in what you say, and I promise you will gain much more. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. 10 years of struggle, 10 years of pain, but I'll finally get to see you no more. Just calling your name, and the ones who wonder who, just open up your eyes. He's waiting for you too. He's not a man in disguise. And the hardest cross to bear, but your heart's not what I wear. To think this effort and this love could overcome the dirty stairs. And it's all because of you. Yeah, it's all because of you. Said it's all because of you. Yeah, I need you. Looking for someone to hold when the right one's standing at your door. Open up your heart and say, I believe in what you say, and I promise you will gain much more. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one.
All right, so let's get into today's word study, and every Tuesday we have the practical word study. Just a quick question for you guys. Do you hear a lot of echo right now? I don't actually hear a lot of echo at all. I'm in a brand new place recording, so if just let me know. I just want to let you guys know I am in a brand new place, and because of that, I don't have like all the sound dampening things that can help me out here, but just let me know if it's okay. I don't know. I was listening back to some of the recording, and it sounded okay too. So I hope it's something that, as you know, maybe you guys feel more like I am traveling around. The sound is different, stuff like that too. But either way, all right. So let's get into today's practical word study. And there's two things that I want to talk about here. Okay. And of course, there's the two titles about studying God and like whatever, something that is not beautiful. Let me get to the actual literal title. If it's one can't stand to see something that is not beautiful because it is unpleasant to look at. Okay. So this is the thing that I want to talk about first is like kind of like a mentality shift. Okay. So something that's not beautiful is what God does not want to look at. So we understand this. It makes sense to us. And it's a very, very interesting concept. Okay. Because when we look at beauty, beauty is something that is in the eye of the beholder, right? And some things are beautiful to one person, but not beautiful to another. And yet we're trying to look from God's point of view and God's perspective because, this is where it matters the most. So the question I bring up to you guys is, what does God consider beautiful? And of course, we hear throughout the message, it's about your thoughts. It's about your character. It's about your actions. It's about your faith and your love. And these things were like going, yeah, this is definitely what God finds as beautiful. If you have these, it's so beautiful in God's eyes, right? We make our character beautiful. That's something we know for sure because something, in the messages always talks about fixing your character, right? So we fix and change our character by listening to the word and putting it into action. Then the word, because, basically the word is the key because the word tells us how to live. What are the best thoughts to have? And these are all God's thoughts, God's way of living. So we know that as the almighty, omnipotent, all-powerful, perfect God, we know that the more we have his thoughts, the more we become perfect. And of course, if you think about it, even more deeply, the end goal is to live not with the person next to you, it's to live together with God forever. So we want to live with someone, and if we want to live together, we need to have similar thoughts and similar actions, right? Kind of like a married couple. Married couple, they get married, they decide to live together. They decide to have the same thoughts and the same actions. Of course, we'll have different styles, different personalities, but when people get married, they want the same goal and the same purpose. Like the married couple discuss when they want to have a baby, how often, what they do with their money, how they treat their families. Like all these things are discussed together and they have similar actions, right? Now, if we have similar thoughts to God, right, the thoughts lead to similar actions, right? And that's why all these things are kind of put together, character, thoughts, actions, which leads to greater faith and greater love. Right? So the more we have the same thoughts as God, we have similar actions and we fulfill his will. And if that happens, we draw even that much closer to God. Because it's the more we become like God. But what's the most important part? Right? The most important part is, in order for us to want to get to know God more and more and more, right? Well, that desire comes from the amount of love we have for God, okay? So just think about in general. The more you love something, the more you study it, the more you want to become like it, right? Think about fans of like idols, singers, and actors. Because they're so crazy about this person. They like them so much. They learn everything about them. And they do their best to like the same things as them. They'll cry when they go through difficulty. And this is all because of love. Parents too. Parents love their children so much, they will do their best to do what is best for their children and make them happy. Lovers too. When you have a crush on someone, or let's just say someone just has a crush, you try to like what they like. Try to change yourself towards them. And this makes people feel closer to them because they have such a crush and they feel like they're doing the same things as them. Okay? So these are things like, okay, this is something we all know. But here's the thing that I want to go one step deeper in. So the question now is, what about physical looks? Does God care about physical beauty? And the answer is yes and no. What do you mean yes and no? Well, if we look at the way human beings look, it's much different. Human beings look at beauty as in like who looks beautiful, who is pretty, and they put a huge emphasis on how pretty someone is. But what does it mean to be beautiful, like physically speaking, in God's eyes? And to God, it's not about a preference. Right? Their physical beauty is not about a preference. Like I like a bigger nose. I like a smaller nose. I like bigger ears. I like smaller ears. Whatever it is. It's not a preference. Physical beauty to God is about the mentality one uses to be healthy or to be beautiful physically. right? So God created each and every human being to be beautiful, each in their own way, which I'm talking physical beauty. It's about if someone is healthy, eats well, exercises, treats their body with the true value of what God's creation can be, right? Because if you truly valued your body in that way, how could you live in this way? You know what I mean? Like, let me give you a couple of verses that are very powerful. And the 3:16 is coming up again. We had a lot of verses of 3:16 come up, right? 1 Corinthians 3:16. Don't you know that you yourselves are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in your midst? 1 Corinthians 6:19. Do you not know that your bodies are the temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. It's quite interesting here because when you think about it, what does God think is beautiful? Right? Something that is clean. What does God think is beautiful? Something that is healthy. It was meant to be that shape, meant to be that way. God didn't create human beings to be ugly, but we can be if we don't take care of ourselves. We are created in God's image. And if we are unhealthy, if you're unhealthy, do you think that is what God intended us for us to be physically? Do you think that's beautiful in God's eyes? I think it would be a misunderstanding to think that we shouldn't be healthy. Now, I'm not saying we're all going to be supermodels, and I'm not saying we all have to have zero fat in our bodies. That's totally not what I'm saying. Like, that's for people who are like experts or the people highest level in the modeling or the physical beauty, that type of field. We're not all meant to be like supermodels and stuff like that, but we are not meant to be unhealthy. We're not meant to be sick or diseased. And a lot of this is based on how we take care of our bodies. That's such an important thing we have to think about. All of that is based upon how well do you take care of your body. You know, a lot of times when like sicknesses, heart disease and stuff like that, a lot of it just requires you to do what? Just to do exercise 3 times a week is enough, right? Even at the basic level. You don't have to be a fitness instructor. Just even being healthy at a basic level is something that we need to be. And of course, I know that the older we get, the more difficult it is to take care of our bodies, but there's still a basic level of health. And sometimes I think we are too geared towards the spirit. As long as our spirit's fine. No, we are meant to be on heaven and earth, right? Was the body meant to be neglected? No, we're supposed to make our spirits through the body, right? So that mentality that we gain here in this history is supposed to be seen also through our bodies, right? I think neglecting your body is a sin. It doesn't mean you're going to go to hell. It doesn't mean that you lose your salvation. But we were not meant to be like that. And I think that's something new we need to think about in that way too, right? If you are truly your body is God's temple, how would you treat God's temple? How clean would it be? Like, remember when Steve talks about cleaning your room? It says, your room is where God dwells. It's where his bride lives. How clean is it? That's a big point. How clean is your room? Well, if that's a miniaturization of the temple of God, and if you miniaturize it even more, it's our own bodies. How clean is your body? How healthy how organized is your body? And that's something I do think we need to think about, right? So that's my first point. The second point I want to give is about studying about God, right? Study God. And that was like the first title. And I think that's something we should really think about also. Because a lot of the things that we study, which for us in Providence is the Word. But here's the thing. Just because you study the Word doesn't mean you'll understand the depth of how great the Word is. Why? The people that will realize how great the Word is are those that are experts in that area. When Steve talks about rocks, as someone who is an expert in rocks, it clicks. They're like, this is crazy. This is awesome, right? We will never realize the depth and power of the Word we hear every day, right? Because we don't know fully about that area, which means it's good to study different things, right? That's why we go to school. God doesn't tell us don't go to school, right? That's why for me, I like listening to podcasts from experts about psychology, experts in philosophy, experts in science and maths and stuff like that too. Because when you learn from them, you can realize more deeply about the words that we receive. Because you'd be like, that's what Sunstein said. Wow, that's powerful. That's what Sunstein said too. We get to realize more deeply about God's word through understanding God's nature, God's creation, God's sciences, and the way God created all things, right? And sometimes I do think there is a lack of studying things outside of the word. And that's why, think about it, that's the whole reason we go to school, to get educated, right, on God's creation, right? Whether it's about animals, humans, nature, sciences, maths, everything, we need to learn it really, really well. And if we don't learn it well, this is when a lot of problems start coming into existence, right? And I do think it's something that we have to not neglect these things either. We can't neglect them. We have to really, really make sure that we are able to understand the depth and how amazing God's word truly is. Okay? So there it is. That is the word study for today. And it's a little bit short, huh? Yeah, it's a little bit short today, but maybe it's because it's 11:12 p.m. I don't know. Either way. All right, so there it is, guys. That is today's word study, practical word study. Hope it's something that you guys enjoyed. If you guys have anything you want to add or any questions, remember, questions are Thursdays in 2 days, so go ahead, leave them in the comments or DM me for that too. Okay, so let's move into our second break of the day. Okay, so let's get into today's final segment for this Tuesday podcast. Hope you guys have been enjoying it thus far. And of course, every Tuesday, we're looking forward to Provi In The Media, just trying to figure out what are the things going on right now through the media over here in Korea. And a lot of things that I've heard so far, but let's get into some news articles that came out. I'm going to read just one today, so it might be a little bit short. The title for this one is Sunsim's trial on charges of female assault resumes after 5 months. I didn't even know it was 5 months, but it says resumes after 5 months. It says, according to the legal community on the 7th Daejeon District Court Criminal Division, Sunsim's next trial date is set for 10 a.m. on the 21st of November. His application to recuse himself from the judge was rejected in the first trial, and Sunsim immediately filed an appeal. And when it was rejected in the second trial, he again filed an appeal with the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court finally decided to dismiss it on the 1st of November. So this actually first happened on July 17th. So Sunsim's lawyer filed a motion to recuse the judge who was the one doing the trial for Sunsim's case. And basically he was saying a fair trial is not taking place. And as a result, the trial has been delayed for 5 months since June 20th, and it couldn't be opened any further. So on the 3rd of November, the prosecutor also filed a request to quickly designate a trial date. So the trial, which had been put on hold due to Sunsim's request to recuse himself from the judge, was reopened. So while the trial was postponed, this article's talking about many people from CGM had daily rallies, one-person demonstrations to pressure the court to hold a fair trial and expose the victims' private lives, causing a spread of secondary abuses. Right, so that's what this article is talking about, right? So, yeah, big thing here, guys, is it's going to happen on November 21st, 10 a.m. in Korea time. So that's something we really need to pray for. This is coming up. Well, it's the same day I leave Korea to go to Taiwan. But let's make sure that we set that condition and pray for Sunsim's trial too. There was another article that I was kind of reading, but the English didn't really make sense. But the gist of it was who's the one trying to delay? The trial's been delayed for 5 months, right? There's a whole article based on who's the one that's trying to delay the trial. But, we have to know that this is something that is part of the system. The appeal and going to the Supreme Court, that is all part of the system. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing heinous or evil about this because, everyone has the opportunity to make an appeal. Everyone has the opportunity to go all the way up to the Supreme Court, right? So that is something that is part of the system. So when the people say, whose fault is it? There's no real fault for this. What it really is basically that, they're just doing their due diligence in making sure that the trial is as fair as possible. So when you think about it this way, it's then you kind of understand they're trying to make some noise out of this too, but it's normal. So it shouldn't be something that's freaking people. People shouldn't be oh, there's someone's fault for this, right? And I do want to say something that clears something up from last week. Remember I told you that article from last week about there was some type of document. Remember when in the very beginning when CGM headquarters was raided by the police and took a bunch of documents? One of the documents in there was something about settling with both the Hong Kong and the Australia, the people accusing Sunsim, and it was supposed to be something like $300,000 each. Okay, so the thing is, this settlement was not made, so there's nothing paid out. No one was paid, and it wasn't even offered. So those are two things you need to know. It was not offered, and it was not paid. So you can't pay it if it's not offered either, right? But this was a document that was made earlier by one of the lawyers. Okay, and I told you last week that maybe some people are questioning the loyalty of the lawyer themselves, but the lawyer did come and apologize for what they did. It was a mistake. Right? But the lawyer did make the settlement document, and it was not done to say that Sunsim is guilty. And the lawyer said it was a mistake to make it because, like I said, it was seized during the raid, right? So this document that was being talked about, the lawyer apologized for it, and it was his mistake. But he's, like I said, not saying that Sunsim is guilty or anything else like this. But there seemed to be some misunderstanding between Sunsim and the lawyer in the conversation that made him prepare something like this, right? But like I said, there was nothing, no settlement was actually offered, and it wasn't paid, obviously. So it's something where we're not really sure what the full story behind it is, but definitely he apologized that it was a mistake. So from what we know so far, I don't think it's I don't look at that and say this person is a traitor or betrayed or anything else like this. Like, we don't know yet fully, but it's something where at least this person has like openly apologized and stuff and said it was a bad thing to even make this document in the first place. But it was coming from something where there must have been, he was talking about some mistake or some misunderstanding that he and Sunseem had of why he decided to make this document, right? So it was done on his own. Sunseem wasn't the one that said to write it. But I think it was like one of his interpretations of what Sunseem was trying to say, right? And of course, if you're doing this with a good heart, like how do we get rid of this? How do we, get this trial to be done? How do we not go through this type of thing? Remember, settlements are done for multiple reasons, like multiple reasons. And one thing that the media is going to try to make you think is that, oh, if they're innocent, why would they do this settlement? And I'll tell you, there are multiple reasons to do a settlement. Like, number one is sometimes a settlement is much better and actually cheaper because the lawyer's fees are crazy that people rather settle than go through the trial and then be spending that much more money. So there's number one. Second thing that a second reason why they'd rather settle is a lot of times people don't want to be like dragged through the public. So they'd rather just settle it on the side so they don't have to go through that entire process also, right? And sometimes people could be guilty. And because they're guilty, they want to settle it so they don't have to go through jail and stuff like that too. So there's not one reason for it. So, you can't just look at the media. The media tells you, oh, there's only one reason for this. And the answer is no way. There's multiple reasons why people settle. And it's not just one, like, oh my gosh, it's this. It's only this. So this is just kind of like the media trying to plant one reason, right, out of multiple reasons why this is happening, okay? So, yeah, that's kind of one of the things I did want to bring up from last week, and I hope it's something that everyone understands more. I don't know the full details. I only know in general, so I hope it's something that all of us can, if this is all true and it's really a mistake, man, can you imagine how bad this lawyer feels too? Like, how stricken in their hearts the guilt they must feel also. And that's something that I do think we have to, understand that there are mistakes that are made, things that have misunderstandings that are happening because of this and that. So I really hope that all of us too can be praying for the full situation too. All right. So there it is, guys. That is Provi In The Media for today. Hope you guys really enjoyed that just as much as I have today. I hope you guys enjoy your Tuesday. Have a wonderful day. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire